She's like talking circles around
Yeah.
him.
When my boys both did travel sports, and she was like, so I'm not an athlete, but I want to go to private high school, and this is why, and had a whole PowerPoint presentation of how much we've spent in traveling for baseball for the brothers, and how much we made. And I was like, you're 14.
Oh my gosh.
Roseanne's son's a
Wow.
lawyer.
That is impressive. Where was she trying to go?
She wanted to go to Lourdes, but then, you know, the friends ships changed.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
And she wanted to stay here in Palm. But it's worked out, and then like I said, she did forensics, she's taking forensic psych, intro to law. Yeah.
I mean,
so-
information is available everywhere.
Right.
If you want it, you can get it, you know?
And now, like I said, 3 of her teachers have recommended her for Dutchess Community College credit courses next year for her
Nice.
senior year. So she needs gym, and then she's taking 3 college courses her senior year.
Oh, that's cool.
So she'll be going in with 12 credits.
Yeah.
great.
So she's got a good head on her shoulders.
Robert's gonna be here in 10 minutes.
She must have gotten it.
So you 2
10
boys and
minutes,
a girl?
huh?
That was my family dynamic.
Mine too.
I was gonna say, I learned how to argue pretty cool.
Mine too. Especially like she's the youngest and the only girl, and just she's.
Yeah, I was smack in the middle.
And that might be, that's tougher, because I feel like she had the youngest card for her,
Yeah.
but they're very protective.
She'll be good, don't worry.
She's fine. She's, well, honestly, the one I worry least about.
I heard it, it was like part of a audiobook I was listening to, but it was like, a mother is only as happy as her youngest, as her unhappiest child. And I was like, that is so true.
We are recording now, just for the
Oh,
record.
okay. I hope everyone agrees.
Nobody, they can't hear us
Oh,
yet,
okay.
but it is recording. It's so true.
So true, yeah.
How's it going?
Hello.
You saved me the trouble of leaving Lori a note. That sign that the guy hit with the plow a couple of years ago, it's in the back of my truck.
Oh, right down here from Memorial?
Yep,
Came down?
yeah, yeah, they never repaired it properly. You know, it was a jerry-rig repair job, so it's, yeah, some lady called me up. So I went down and picked it up.
Where's it, the truck?
Yeah, it's in the bed of my truck.
You want to just bring it in here so I'll have her
Yeah,
get up
yeah,
here?
yep.
Yeah, well, Prince.
We're gonna have a full house tonight? I didn't hear from anybody else. From Lorraine and Mark.
Well, they
Hope they
usually,
remember it's 6:30.
they only tell you if they're not coming, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, here we go, here's Mark. Mark's coming. Jay, I don't think the way that's gonna be repaired, I think it's gotta be replaced to its original condition. You're not gonna be able to,
Yeah.
secure, it's gotta go in the ground again, in the cement.
Thanks.
Hi Mark, how are you?
Very well. I got a little worried in traffic, but by chance, did you see the note I wrote, was that clear? That I sent?
Oh, for 21 West Main. I think that project's kind of kaput because it didn't get its approval from zoning
Oh,
board.
okay.
So I did see it and I looked through it quickly. It seemed reasonable, but now it
Okay.
doesn't
All
matter.
right, I just wanted to make sure.
It might matter, but we can discuss that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, at any rate, I'll have Tom take a look at it, the engineer that's reviewing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't figure that would go away so quickly. You'll probably have a pretty hard time getting him to pay the bill. Because that's what happened. 6:29. Here comes somebody, but, oh, that's, the sun, right?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Sad when I left.
Oh, what kind of puppy is it?
He's a shepherd mastiff.
Oh, okay.
He's a big baby.
Not very little then.
No, he's 110 pounds,
Oh, wow.
but he's a baby. Hi, how are you? Good.
Missed you last night. Oh, no.
Nothing crazy, right?
We put the budget.
Oh, that's right, that was up. 100%. Yeah.
Robert's gonna be here in about 7 minutes.
Did you hear from Ray?
That was really good.
No.
Yeah, asking for some. Yep.
So is this hotel open yet?
I had an inspection today.
Hmm.
They're making headway.
Okay.
It's probably fun, my aunt's living.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Sound like somebody's down there.
Is the door locked? Hmm. Maybe it was Rob trying to just enter from outside.
Let me swing around.
I'll go, I can go there.
Baseball road trip. So the Yankees lost their whole game to
Thank you.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Detroit, if there was Detroit.
Yeah, it probably should stay open.
Yeah, yeah.
If-
As much as they came down, it was on 4 o'clock, they had Nike, they switched to 4 o'clock last night.
Oh, really? It's fun, the Detroit game.
What, then you have to put a note on the front. Did you put a note on the
There's a
front?
note.
Oh, okay.
That means it's review.
Okay.
I haven't.
No,
Yeah,
that
then
one
that's
was
fine.
great. No, then that was
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Otherwise, it's just a little creepy, right?
Made it interesting. And then we drove to Detroit. We were going to food and stuff, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, stuff to do. The game was supposed to be 6 o'clock. We moved the Detroit game, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because of weather. It snowed. Then arguing. By the time we left the game around 6 o'clock, the sun was out.
Anybody?
No, it was good.
No, by chance, yeah.
It was fun.
Excuse me, do you have a business card by chance? Great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's better. We like the change.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I know, I texted Emma too, I thought you should know. I'm sorry. Yeah, planning board is 6:30.
Oh, always?
Oh, wait.
Oh, okay.
How you doing, Kurt? Good.
We got our CO. We got our CO.
Good,
So people are gonna be doing it.
good.
Pauling Commons?
Yes.
I know I went down and looked at a couple of the apartments, they're nice apartments. They did a nice job on it.
People seem interested, so that's good.
We're actually still waiting for Rob, so, yeah.
What's that? From the meeting with the scale? Yes, just in case, isn't it? You never know. One, I don't know what's going on with the other one. Well, that's Downey's, right? Yeah. They turned it around, you know, as fast as they could. They were good, the whole department.
What are you doing over there? They keep putting people around, you know, that's all.
Jason Aldridge.
Aldridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Aldridge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are they doing on the side? They go by the bank. The hamburger, like crazy. Are they doing drainage there?
Yeah, the electric service is gonna go all there, underground buildings, to get all the overhead.
Oh, okay, I saw them put the cat in the,
That's the wall for the. Yeah. Yeah, those wires hanging.
It's a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Just need a truck around the back of that thing, take out those wires.
Oh, right.
I got it. Somebody down below?
Mhm. I was advised that I didn't have to unlock the downstairs door anymore. Now they're knocking.
You ought to just, they ought to
There
just,
was a sign
they
that
ought to
said-
just eliminate that door from crying out loud.
Hello, sorry. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Hang on.
That time it wasn't.
Welcome, everybody, to Tuesday, April 8th, Planning Board meeting, 2025. Yeah, would you like to take roll?
Sure will. We have Chairman Rob Pfister,
Present.
Member Lou Masella,
Here.
Member Pete Pinelli,
Here.
and Member Mark Del Mazo.
Here.
Lou, would you like to lead us? in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, first on the agenda, we have 85, Charles Coleman.
You heard?
Right there.
All right. I think Diana and Serafina were here last month to kind of introduce the project, but I'll kind of go through it a little bit more. What we submitted with this last submission, basically the planning board approved this project a couple of years ago, and there have been some site changes made, and we're here to talk about those changes towards an amended site plan to get those items approved. I can just run down what they are here. Major change currently is about half of the approved warehouse space. There's a second floor that's been installed in there. It's about 4,000 square feet in there. That's going to be used as executive office space for Diana over there. She's currently in this building in a very small office, so she's going to move over into that space there. And the remainder will be a two-story warehouse space there. And then there's this little area here in red, which is infill between the buildings. That wasn't on the previous site plan, so that's about 600 square feet there. That's access from the warehouse space. So that's part of the warehouse space, two-story in there. There is a connection. There is a roll-up door, probably about 6 or 8 feet wide, in this connection point between the factory and the warehouse, and a man door here in this connection point. So basically, they can bring supplies in from the factory there and then pick up completed items and bring them into the warehouse. So that's the connection there. There is an additional, there's a large overhead door that was approved, which is here, Charles Coleman Boulevard side of the property. And then there was a smaller overhead door, about 12 feet wide, about 12 or 15 feet tall on the north end that was placed there. The purpose of that is basically a secondary access point for forklifts. Will very rarely be used. They want to use the front in case there's ever an issue with that front overhead, but they have a secondary way to get in and out of the building. So it will very rarely be used on that side of the building. There's also an additional exit door in this corner on the north side, which is for the stairwell from the second floor that comes out onto there. We talked about the 600 square feet there. The exterior facade materials, this board approved, I think it was split face block and a metal building. And I think administratively through the building department, there was a change made to that. But in addition to that, there were some changes made to the exterior of the building. Here, this was approved, so it was basically a band that went around the building, which was either metal panels or there was glass panels in there to let light into the warehouse. And I can share with the board, I'm sure everyone's driven by it. Photos of the existing building. Just
Thank you.
So the first picture basically is what the west side of the property looks like now. It was approved this way. overhead door, there's a smaller overhead door and a man door there. Here it's kind of obscure, but you can see in the secondary picture, it's the same view, but inside the fence. The other one is outside the fence, so the fence obscures basically the lower level of this building. So there's a series of double hung windows up on that second floor.
So that's facing Charles Coleman Boulevard.
That's correct. So the first two pictures are facing Charles Coleman.
That was discussed on the last site plan approval, correct?
Um,
That was on the last site plan, we already discussed this door.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically what was
Right.
approved, but yes,
Yes,
correct.
okay.
So these are the changes that were made to the building. And then on the north side, the third picture you have there, that's the north elevation. So you can see the distance there, the overhead door, and then there's a man door there, the closest corner of the property, and then another series of double hung windows on the second floor in that office space.
Is there a overhead door in the building to the rear there that we're seeing? What is this that I'm seeing?
That's, that is the fence around the chiller, the way
Oh, okay.
down. That was part of the original site plan, that's not new. And then the last picture is the southerly facade of the building. So it's got 4 double hung windows as you approach from Charles Coleman Boulevard, heading north. You can see the distance.
So the warehouse north picture, Kirk, we didn't discuss these two doors, correct?
Yeah, this is an overhead door, this is
That-
new,
That's new,
correct? These windows are slightly different,
No.
and that's a door, man door there, out of the stairs.
okay.
Yeah.
And the mezzanine, we already discussed on the original site plan approval, correct? That mezzanine deck where Diana wants to put her offices?
On the original site plan
Right.
approval? No,
No.
it was a 2-story warehouse.
I thought we had discussed a mezzanine. When did we discuss a mezzanine?
I think that you were aware
Yes.
at some point following the approval, they came in and talked to
I
us.
think maybe,
At
but
some point.
I think now we're just trying to capture all that. You did approve this site plan,
Yes.
and then now, I think maybe some discussions happened, but now we're trying to get everything finalized as an amended site plan, capture all the changes that were made.
So basically, you guys don't have your CO, right?
Correct.
Right, so they were never given their CO, they need a retroactive approval in order to gain that.
The other thing is, this area on the north here of the site was actually wide, it was 15 feet approved there, and it was widened to 20 feet. We're actually proposing to bring that back to 15 feet, so there won't be any change in impervious coverage on the site. So it's gonna remain as is under the maximum that's allowable. Again, the purpose of that is to access that forklift area for secondary to the warehouse. And get into the back, we have to service the chiller or whatever back here, but that'll go back to the original approved site plan.
So you'll remove that asphalt that's there?
It's not asphalt, it's actually item 4, this place now that we'll remove that, put grass in there.
Because otherwise you would have needed an area variance.
And we don't need the extra width, it just, I think it's just happened in there and then put the item 4 down, so
Yeah.
we'll bring it back.
It travels.
To the approved.
I know at one point there was discussions about trucks backing into that door on Charles Coleman Boulevard. I haven't seen that happening.
They haven't done the improvements yet here at that access point because it's somewhat narrow there. You can't back a truck into there. So that needs to be revised per the approved site plan.
Right.
So we can get the trucks going down into that.
Okay, so we
road.
haven't gotten to that point. yet.
Correct.
Okay, but we're still gonna,
All this hasn't been done yet here either, so I think we're just trying to get a new approved site plan so we can comply with that towards our CO.
all that's still on the table though.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that was all
Yeah,
approved previously, but we still need to do that work. I will mention also, there is a temporary access that was put in the northern corner of the property here. That was just during construction to kind of get in and out of there. That's gonna be abandoned and, we'll go back to grass area for the approved site plan.
On the infill area?
Yes.
So, sorry, is it open to the sky or?
No, it's part of the warehouse, so
Okay.
it's the full 2 stories, part of the warehouse. It was this weird little area here, so they infill construction to the warehouse height. So the roof height is the same here.
So they enclosed it?
Correct, yes, it's part of the building now.
Gotcha. So it made the building slightly bigger.
600 square feet larger, yes. And that was to get better access from the factory area into the physical warehouse.
So you don't have a view of that side, though? You got the northeast, you don't have an east side view from the pictures? Can you get an east side view? Because you just gave every dimension.
Yeah, I mean,
Southeast.
I can get you a picture of that.
Okay, I'm just, because
Actually,
if you could, because that makes this whole set, then we can see all sides. And then the manway door that you said goes to the stairwell, does that go into a connection to the warehouse as well?
There's a stairway that goes up to the second floor only.
But- But the first floor, can they get it?
Yes, you can get. to the
Okay,
first
so there's,
floor.
they have an egress out, okay.
No, it's that right there. That's the warehouse new, that's the
See,
existing
it's
factory.
it's just that.
Yeah.
What's that gray? Is that a door?
Yes, that's an exit door, an egress door. So you can just see that they just filled this.
Okay.
area.
Mhm. That's vinyl siding, something like that?
It looks like it is, yeah. I think it might be the vinyl siding. Oh, that little infill area? Yes. That's vinyl siding.
And that door gets you out from the first floor warehouse?
From the warehouse,
Okay.
yes, that's an egress point.
So they have
from the
1,
warehouse.
2, 3, 4 ways out?
Yes.
Okay.
Want me to jump in, or you guys?
Yeah,
you guys have-
go ahead.
Okay. Could you explain, so why did you go with where they double hung windows versus, not you? Why did they go with double hung versus I don't know, I forget what clear story windows?
Yeah, we
was.
kind of had a band on the front of the building that
Yeah.
was metal panels and glass, so it kind of went around there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not sure.
Okay.
okay.
I don't know if that was discussed with the building department as that was happening, I'm not sure, but
Well, what we were led to believe was that, that the alteration to the second floor window type and arrangement is up for the planning board's review. So that was not pre-approved.
yeah, I really wasn't involved at that point, so I'm not sure what transpired there and what discussions were had.
So, you'll answer some of these in your response.
Yes,
That's
I mean,
fine.
I can go through them here, just, number one in your comments, does the 0.3 acre of disturbance come from reseeding the north axis of Charles Coleman? The 600 square foot infill section. Basically, we used the disturbance from the previous site plan. We can modify that slightly to capture those two areas if we want to do that.
I think I was mostly just trying to get to whether the lot coverage had
Yes.
changed and whether a variance was needed.
All right, so
That's where I
to
was
that
headed with
point,
that.
I know. And to that point, we are reducing
Yeah.
that so we comply with the previous site plan. So
Okay.
we will not have a change in the impervious coverage.
Gotcha.
Because that infill area was asphalt or concrete previously, so it was not grass.
Makes sense. Okay.
And then what is the 600 square foot infill section used for? We talked about that, and it's vinyl siding. And it was previously open to the sky, but it was impervious surface on the ground at that point.
Okay.
Described the necessity of the overhead door on the north side of the building, was its frequency, and has the interior workflow changed to require it. It's basically the open warehouse space, and it's that secondary way to get a forklift in and out if something needs to be gotten from that side. But again, very rarely ever used. It's just a secondary overhead.
I'll admit that that's my greatest concern here, because you do have a residential landowner immediately to the north. And, our prior approved plan had all of the activity that would be emanating south, with the exception of whatever was going on in the roof on the west side of the building. But now you've got a door on the north side of the building. If it's left open or even opened intermittently, you've got that additional noise, which is a nuisance. So.
I mean, if that's a problem, we could probably just keep that door closed at basically all times.
Yeah,
Right.
reducing the driveway side isn't going to allow any trucks to go in.
Sorry, say that again?
Reducing the driveway side on that side of the building is going to prevent any trucks from going on that side regardless. So that door probably never.
whatever language we would
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
need. If
I mean,
that's a
I
real
think-
concern, we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the planning board can weigh in on how they feel about it. But it could be something that became a condition of the approval. So, it's something to think about.
The call out of the boulder retaining wall does not match the detail for modular block wall. Actually, a field condition out there, it's pretty gradual, the slope, and we're actually going to make it less steep by bringing that 5 feet shorter, that access aisle. There's rocks kind of laid in the slope. I can take a picture of that and send that to you and your engineer to take a
Yeah,
look at.
that's fine.
Just so you can, but there isn't that great of a slope change there, so I don't think we need a retaining wall.
How, is that slope change new? I mean, has it changed from the existing condition that was in place when we approved the plan?
I think that the topo on the previous plan, I think it was like, was larger contours though, I think, but when you get onto
okay.
the site, it's very gradual,
Okay,
the slope from the neighboring property.
yeah, I mean, submit whatever you think is reasonable,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
Let's see, explain the change of total square feet from 45,400 to 49,800, so that's about 4,000 square feet of the second floor space plus the infill area. That's the difference in size there. Has the lot coverage been updated to account site plan changes? We talked about that. An area variance, no, we don't need that because we're keeping under the maximum coverage on the site, which is 90%, so it'll be less than that. Describe the materiality of the second floor windows and the arrangement. We talked about that. You can see what those are. I think they're probably vinyl double hung, vinyl clad double hung on those windows.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Note that the overhead door on the north side and widened access suggests activity in the northern setback. And we talked about that too, just kind of an emergency way of getting around. If there's language that needs to be discussed with the board on that, we can do that. And survey should be updated to show cover types, gravel, asphalt, grass. I mean, I think we would probably submit an as-built when everything is done, because we're kind of in the middle of construction now, going towards that CO. So we have a survey that was done a couple years ago.
Yeah, the 2022 survey.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, it doesn't give the cover types, and it's hard to kind of understand how the drainage would be impacted. If you have another solution,
Okay,
you could come up with it, and we can
Okay.
go from there.
all right. All right, we'll look at that, and then,
But I guess that's the point, is that we're trying to make sure that we're understanding, obviously you don't need to SWIP, but
Yep.
we want to make sure that drainage is handled adequately.
all right, and then provide pre-development and post-development coverages to assist in determining lot coverage and drainage. So we'll make that clear on the plans and just define where our areas are and what the final calculations are. So.
Do you have a second-story floor plan?
I think this is Charles Coleman over here. So there's 2 stairwells, and there's an elevator and bathrooms. This is the floor that's on the second floor. This is open below to the warehouse here.
So it's just one giant office space?
Yeah, basically, it's one big open space, and there is a solid wall between
Right.
here.
So it's still a mezzanine, it's not taking the entire...
It's not taking the entire second floor, correct, portion of.
How many offices are they going to put?
It's gonna be one big open office, I think, basically. Diana's gonna have a big office. There's no change in employee count, it's basically the same.
It's relocated office.
It's
essentially.
relocated, correct, because she's in a small office now, so, yeah.
And it's accessory to the principal use, which is the warehousing,
They're
manufacturing.
moving the office out of the basement, basically, where there's no room. to a bigger area which is already
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting the wall.
Yeah, because the workspace in the existing building is pretty tight. There's few people jammed in there, so it'll give us more space in there for people to work and then move someone over into this space. So we'll submit full responses, obviously, for the next meeting per Karen's letter, but if there were any other concerns that the board had, or,
Well, the only concern that I would have, the windows don't bother me. The door with the noise, because, going back, way back when, the neighbor was pretty concerned about noise coming from the factory, the condition of the yard. Hopefully, it's not gonna become another pallet place to collect a lot of pallets and become unsightly. So if it's not gonna generate any noise to disturb the neighbors up front, I don't have, to the north, I don't have a problem with that door as well. But if it does become a problem, we should address it at that point.
I have to say, I was at the site today, and on the north side of that building, it's very clean. There's nothing.
I know that.
There's nothing
Yeah,
outside right now, so,
It looks probably the best in
yeah.
a long time.
I think the thing though, to realize though, is that they're, like, if they're actually operating in that area, they're operating their business in the setback. The required setback, which isn't right.
Okay, well, so what do you mean operating their business as far as?
Well, like, if you think about a lot, right, and you have to have a setback from where your building
Right.
is. I mean, it's like, the operations of their business are occurring in the setback. The whole point of the setback is to help,
Is to be a buffer.
is to be a
the
buffer,
properties.
yeah. So if they're operating in that area,
It's operating meaning,
meaning
Forklifts.
forklifts.
so they couldn't drive a forklift around to make a
Well,
delivery of some kind. That's it, backing up.
Yeah,
It's kind of a gray area, I would think, because it's defined as a building setback theoretically. So the building meets the requirements.
Right.
There is an access path within, but
but you don't usually allow encroachments in the setback with the exception of drive aisles and, you don't, I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
guess
under-
I'm thinking about like
I understand your
outdoor,
point, yeah.
Fences, you know.
Accessory
Yeah.
uses.
outdoor storage.
Accessory uses,
Yeah.
okay. So basically, there's alterations to the original site plan during construction. You're coming in to get those approved. The items that were constructed, I'm assuming are built to code. There's not an issue with that. It's just that they vary from the original approved site plan.
correct.
So the doorways are they're built to code. It's just that they're either weren't supposed to be there or they're different, or for instance, the windows might be a different.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so when
And-
the building department is comparing
Yeah.
approved
And so
toward.
they're holding
yeah.
your CO
Yes.
until the alterations that have been constructed, you're coming back for approval of those. Rooftop runoff, drainage, was there alterations to what was approved previously?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Joe Berger approved that as the engineer previously, so there really were no changes to that. That I
And
know
the
of.
small amount of the infill roof, that's not
Yeah.
an issue.
I mean, and again, because that area that was on the ground was impervious already, so it kind of just raised that impervious to the second floor.
But now it's being collected?
Correct.
All right.
That's correct.
It's not always just the
Mhm.
area. Okay. And like you said, it's just that door to the neighbors. But again, the additional doorways for warehouse operation, especially for safety, fire reasons, are good, so.
You need a lot of access.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying,
The more
so.
access you got, the better off you are. Trust me, I've been there and done it.
But again, we're gonna really push to keep it to the front overhead doors and in and out of the building at that point.
More toward Charles Coleman.
Yes.
Again, you have a door, you're gonna use it,
Yes. Yeah,
I mean, no matter what
understood, understood.
unless there's something in the,
Yeah.
you give the code enforcement officer something to use, if that's what we want to do.
Mhm.
Seeker?
Yes, you recommend it be seeker on this?
Yeah, we have to do seeker because it's a site plan approval, even though it's a retroactive one. So you might consider declaring intent to be lead agency for seeker.
I'll make the motion that we declare the lead agency in the city.
Yeah, actually, let me just say, sorry to interrupt. Because there are no other involved agencies, you could probably just declare yourselves lead agency.
Yes.
So you don't have to circulate it.
So I make the motion.
Second?
Yeah?
Second?
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
And you could consider scheduling a public hearing.
Should we do that for next meeting? Is that enough time for him to get back with the responses?
I think they're fairly minimal
Yeah,
with the
I think that's
responses,
fine.
yeah.
And he has until the 20-something
Yeah.
to submit.
April 29th.
29?
That's the deadline, right? Yeah. For the May what meeting?
May 15th.
That's the certified mailers? Is that the certified mailers to neighbors?
Well, that's
So,
interesting.
Gary
Go
and I
ahead.
were actually talking
Yeah.
about this today. It came to light at the last zoning board meeting that there were a lot of contentions with the last application that was subject here that should have been brought up at the time of the planning board. I have yet to review the code on this, but purportedly there's no notice requirements to neighbors for the planning board applications, for the public hearings. We're gonna be looking into that, see if that's something that this board could adopt potentially as a policy for the people who didn't know about it, couldn't speak up about their concerns with noise, traffic, things like that, that really should be in this board's purview. Or whether or not that would require a code change from the village board. So I'm gonna be looking into that, but the idea is to provide more notice than just simply the newspaper publication and the village notices.
Yeah, I think previously it was occurring anyway, but because it's not in the code and, just kind of the more recent transitions, it wasn't.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing prohibiting it. The question of whether it's required is something that I'd be looking into. So,
And the polling paper, is that Poughkeepsie Journal?
yeah.
Poughkeepsie
I
Journal.
sent it to the Poughkeepsie Journal.
Yeah. So you think you'll have an answer on that next week?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it. I mean, really, it's if the applicants consent to allowing or doing their notices,
Mhm.
This board can do that. There's nothing preventing you from asking for that.
Yeah.
Whether you can require it is an issue that I'd be looking into.
I mean, in all my workings in the past with the village, we've done notices for public hearings. I think it's just come to light recently that it's not required. So I think in an effort to be fair, I think we could notice the neighbors for this project, for the public hearing.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The more information, the better. Transparency is the better way.
Yeah, of course, so no need to beat that one up, we can just go with it.
Motion for a public hearing?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we set the public hearing to, what is it, Amanda?
May 15th.
May 15th?
I'll second.
It's
All in
May
favor?
15th?
Aye.
It's not a Thursday?
Aye.
Right?
May 13th for Tuesday. No?
No, it got moved.
We have a
It's
meeting
not.
on May 15th?
It's the 15th, I thought.
That's what I has on the schedule.
It's, yeah.
So we have a meeting on a Thursday for a change.
Is that a Thursday?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And
This
it's,
Thursday.
I think July might be different too. I was just
Okay.
looking.
So it definitely is the Thursday, the 15th?
I'll look into that for tomorrow.
Okay, just to make sure, just,
Yeah, it's on,
It's on the,
It's on- we have
it
it
is,
posted, yeah.
it's on the way it's
Okay.
posted. I don't know how it happened, but
okay.
at 6:30.
At 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keeping us on our toes.
In this room?
At the restaurant.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're all good?
We're good to go?
All right, thank you very much.
Did they?
See you on
Okay, never mind. Yeah.
15th, or
Yep,
possibly
good, we're good.
For the holiday?
Hmm. I don't know. Okay. too. Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda is 68 Charles Coleman Boulevard.
How's everyone doing? I'm Rob Carlson for O'Connor's Public House. I originally was not going to be giving this presentation. My sister Emma was, but she is ill, so I'm going to try to make it up as I go here. We are seeking site plan approval to expand our patio in the back for the summer, or approaching the summer. We had done a sketch conference a couple months ago, was approved and to move on to the site plan, so here we are doing that. I can go over the broad details again. We are wanting to expand our existing patio of 800 square feet and about 50 seats to 2,400 square feet total, so an additional 1,600 square feet, and looking to add around 70 seats, give or take. Our goal is less about adding seats and more about expanding space for people to be more comfortable. They're a little bit squashed in right now and like to give a little more breathing room if possible. We have our lease with Joe Downey. It runs through 2032. I can look that up a little closer. So yeah, we have permission to use that for the next several years. Everything's in place. It's a previously approved structure, so we're hoping it's a relatively simple process. I do have, from the questions that were asked, the bulk zoning table. Our engineer got that to us today. I can submit that if you like. We only have one copy. I don't know if that's an issue. I can get more later.
I personally don't need a hard copy, but I do think they're required. But you have until the 29th to make copies and otherwise submit.
All right. So should I just address the questions for?
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Let's see. The base of the patio is asphalt.
The existing?
Yeah, the existing, and what would be the new patio. It's all one parking lot. So we're just expanding further into that. The total square foot of the existing bar building, so our entire building is around 1,700 square feet. The bar is something like 1,000. Bar restaurant is 1,000 square feet of that entire building. But our hope is to go down the entire length of our building for the patio. Does the patio remain in use year-round? It is seasonal. It depends on the weather, so cold mostly. Typically late April into as late as October. It just depends on how long the weather cooperates with us. The current hours will remain the same. 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, and then 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Friday and Saturday, which is what we've been operating on a couple years now. Will the music be? Yes, there will be soft music playing during dinner hours, operating hours. We do trivia on Thursdays. That's a different speaker system, but it's temporary and it's not overly loud or intrusive. Trash is managed by our dumpster. We have 2 pickups a week from Welsh Sanitation. There is no smoking permitted on the patio. People try, but we stop them as best we can. The lighting that is going to be used. So we currently have barn-style lighting right now. It sort of overhangs. There's 2 of them. It's 2,700 Kelvin or about 100 watt equivalent LED bulb, and we want to add 3, maybe 4 more, but it's not overly bright. You don't want it overly bright in our instance. And we also have string lights that line the fence just as a more look than anything, but again, up to 2,700 Kelvin or 100 watt LED bulb.
I'm sorry, you said they're barn lights, so they do they go like that?
Yeah, they kind of come out and and then
and they're attached on the interior of the fence?
they're attached to the building, to our building.
Okay, and they go out onto the parking lot?
Correct.
Got it.
Yes. Additional employees proposed. We sort of have, our staffing is pretty fluid. It changes based on seasonal need. We always have people who want to work. We don't necessarily have to hire new people. More people like more hours if we can do it. That's how we like to do it. But it's not impossible to, hire a bar back for it if we need to. Just somebody who can, bus tables, help fill in. But yeah, we don't need to hire additional staff, but could. And so, as I said, the existing seats are 54, and we want to add about 70. But we also want to leave room for yard-type games, cornhole, and Jenga towers, that kind of stuff. More standing room than seated dining, just because we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen. It, can't handle too much more as it is, so we don't want to overwhelm our staff in general. Parking has always been our biggest concern, but really we don't have many problems with it. Most of our business is after merchant hours, so the merchant spaces open up to the public at that point, and people tend to park on that Charles Coleman or in the lot next to the library, and then our employees use our driveway when they park, so they don't use any of the public spaces. It's, people largely carpool. We encourage people to carpool if possible. We don't want people driving if we can help it. And that's what we tend to see happen anyway. Under the existing lease, the maximum time the patio could remain, yes. So our patio can remain in place until 2033 under the current lease. We don't have any plans of going anywhere, so that we would like to leave it there if possible. And then I also have the short environmental assessment form here, so I can submit that. And then the anticipated water usage, we're not entirely sure how to calculate that because we don't calculate the usage by the seat. We do estimate slightly more usage just to clean more dishes and if people want to drink water, but largely our water use is bathrooms and kitchen.
So there's actually the DC and the State Department of Health maintain a design standard for water demand.
Okay.
And I can send you that information.
That'd be
I'll
great.
send it to Amanda and she can send it on to you and that will assist you in calculating it.
Great.
But while we're on the subject of the water,
Yes.
the bar that's proposed outside,
Yes.
tell me about it.
That is sort of a question that I had myself. I think we wanted to have refrigeration out there was our biggest issue. Not necessarily make it a wet bar because I wouldn't even know how to manage that with weather events. I think it's more about having refrigeration and maybe a small draft system, just to additional seating and then to break up the crowd inside if possible, especially for summer events, something like the block party or the parade. Just an additional way to move people around that's safe and doesn't crowd the bar so much. But we don't have exact details on it. Mostly refrigeration. That's what I would say.
If you did have a bar out there, how would you secure it to vandalism?
That's a good question. I would say we wouldn't stock it when we're not open. Let it run out throughout the night and then bring in whatever we don't use. The goal would obviously be to not use glass out there as well, so we'd have plastic cups for out there. And then, they do have refrigerators with locks, draft systems with locks. You can remove the gas. Be relatively simple, but something that I would be concerned about. It's more of something that we put on there in anticipation to be able to do, not that we want to do right away necessarily. I don't know if that's helpful. But the approval is what we're looking for, not building it, next month. If it's easier for it to come out, we could absolutely do that instead. Because most important to us right now is just being able to work on it, get it open, and have the space ready for when it gets warm out. Trivia starting up soon. People are excited about that.
What do you, right now, the little overhang, the little area that you have right now, you have a little overhang or tarp coming off the main building to protect your customers in the...
So I had some I had some wind sails up, some sun sails up originally. Then I had tried to put a sort of tarp structure up to cover up the rain because Trivia kept getting rained out over and over. But building inspector came by and said that wasn't allowed, so I took that down right away and haven't done anything since.
Right, I mentioned the last time, I think you were before us, I'm a little concerned about, I like the idea, don't get me wrong. I want it to be aesthetically pleasing.
Absolutely.
I don't want, roosters hanging up from, on top of the fence, one decoration after another, and before you know it.
Yep.
We're coming down Charles Coleman Boulevard.
Yes.
We want to keep it nice.
We're trying to move from that motif a little bit. We want to simplify,
I'll add
a
on
little
to that.
cleaner.
We took down all the saws. We're trying to clean up the patio.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't like it like that, so we are cleaning it up. The
Yeah.
saws are down, that was the start, so.
Yeah, we want to have a sort of cleaner, more modern look,
Right.
almost brewery-esque, if you can picture that, more, in the motif of what is existing there, sort of the, parking lot structure and simple, clean, and nothing that people can break. That's the most important part.
Is there outdoor cooking proposed?
No, we won't be cooking outdoors.
And so you all serve dinner there
Yes.
as well? Okay, you have a full kitchen?
Full kitchen.
Okay.
Yep.
And what is the dinner service time?
We serve food 11 to close. Dinner typically starts up around 5:30 and runs until, I would say the busiest time is until 8 o'clock. Then it shifts to a more bar food-based menu. Again, we have it until 10. The kitchen stays open until 10, but the main dinner crowd is about 5:30 to 8.
Okay. And what is your peak? Like, does that align with your peak bar crowd as well, or is it?
Yeah, any given day of the week can be different. We have our trivia on Thursdays, or we have our karaoke every other Wednesday, stuff like that. Weekends are busier. But typically it's later afternoon to evening is our busiest time.
Define later afternoon.
5 o'clock on.
Okay.
People get off work typically.
Have you had any issues with the neighbors?
No, everything is good as far as what we did. The neighbors that we were dealing with have moved out. Nothing to do with us, but we had a good relationship with them. As far as I know, everybody enjoys us being there.
No noise complaints with karaoke?
No. It's all really, we try to make as little noise outside as possible. So everything inside the bar, it's pretty well insulated, so you don't really hear it. Trivia would be our loudest event, but it's not loud. It doesn't get rowdy. It's a family event.
But you do play music outside?
So our speaker system it plays softly, and then the guy who runs our trivia brings his own speaker system, just so like an MC, so he can talk and play music for the trivia. It's part of the game.
And do you guys have live music ever?
Occasionally we've had it inside, but we tend to avoid it. Just adds a wrinkle that we have found is not that helpful.
You mentioned that people park in the library?
Well, so in the lawyer lot next to the library.
Okay. And do you have an easement for that, or
We've
there's
talked
an
to
agreement?
Capolino about it. He said once they're closed, he doesn't mind as long as, people act appropriately. It's nothing signed or anything, but, we go try to keep it clean, make sure people aren't parking on the grass, stuff like that.
And how many spaces are there approximately?
12, maybe 15. A majority of our parking is, though, on the street or after hours in the merchant spots on Charles Coleman.
I think the greatest concerns I see here are potential noise complaints, lighting complaints, and then parking demand issues. I think we'll hear at the public hearing, presumably, as to lighting and noise. They've been around, they've been operating. As for the parking, I think we kind of need to take a harder look at this now, because we haven't really flushed this out with as much before, because it was a much smaller addition. What's great is that it's parking, and, the parking peak demand is occurring outside of the merchant demand. But it does align with the residential demand. I think it's worth considering whether it's reasonable to ask the applicant to do some sort of parking supply and demand analysis to determine that there's appropriate parking for this use.
Well, from what I can see, I don't disagree, but from what I can see, parking at that portion of the village is not an issue. We have the merchant parking areas that are empty. You have all of Union Street that's never used. Nobody ever parks on Union Street, residents or merchants. There's parking on Elm Street that people can use. And then we have Broad Street itself and Charles Coleman Boulevard. As I said before, I've been through the village quite a bit at all different hours. I don't think it's going to be an issue that we're going to have to be concerned about if people are willing to walk. That's the problem. I don't believe the village has a parking issue. I believe people have a walking issue. People don't want to walk to where they want to go. They want to park right in front of where they want to go.
Absolutely.
So I don't think parking is going to be a problem. And the way, we have to find ways to encourage businesses to come into Pauling and for Pauling to continue to grow, because I think we're going the wrong way. So I don't think there's, on my personally, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think it'd be a good addition to the village.
They've been doing this all along now since they've been open, and parking hasn't really been an issue. Even when they had that big St. Patrick's Day party down there, people always park and get around, there's no complaints. So, I think parking is our problem. Your biggest problem last year is you put a tarp up and got banged for it.
Yep.
Because I was
A little
going to ask you
short-sighted.
about that, but
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Comrade over here beat me too. So,
A little overzealous.
Go ask the building inspector. what
Yeah,
he
oh,
can do
we're-
this year, 'cause
we're
I really wanna
liaising with
do
him a fair
something to
amount.
Keep the sun off and a little bit of light rain when
Yeah.
it comes down, that I understand. But, parking, I think there's enough parking down there that you can get around. Because no matter when you go down Broad Street, if I post office, forget about it, you
Yeah.
can get down the street anywhere.
Do you have any agreement with Diana Tomasetti? Because I see a lot of merchants park on her property during the day.
We don't. We don't.
Yeah.
It's something.
I know she's kind enough, and I'm assuming I know she's kind enough because people wouldn't park there on their own. So that might be an opportunity.
Okay.
Has the property owner taken a look at your proposed plans and approved them?
Yeah, everything, when we signed the lease originally, he said, everything's good to go, he's happy. He is, I will say, he's wanting to renegotiate some of the pricing, but that's not been an issue. We're trying to work with him.
Where the lease does state that he has to give his written approval before any alterations to the leased property.
Yeah,
So you may want to get that, the board may want to
Yeah.
condition approval on that.
sure.
Yeah, so the operation hours, maybe that's something you might, because I can see the code enforcement officer having an issue in the future, whatever that may be, that you do should be on the site plan so they can follow that if that was ever an issue in the future. You brought up lighting, you brought up the noise. The only thing I am concerned about is just ingress and egress.
Sure.
Because if something did happen and there's just a back door to get out through the building. So.
Yes.
I'm not saying it has to be a permanent door, for everyday use, but something as an
Opening the
emergency.
fence, that's.
Yeah, so people can get out if there
Yeah,
was a
so there's 2 emergency exits in the fence right now.
Is there?
And then we're going to add a third at the end.
Is that shown on this?
Yes, I
Yeah.
believe so.
Okay. And then the fire
think the
chief.
2
would
are
have-
shown.
Yeah, it doesn't stand out a ton on the CAD, but
It's
yeah.
there.
It's there?
There's
Okay,
2,
Okay.
I think,
Yeah,
currently.
well, so there's 2 currently. There's one that leads out to our dumpsters, which is not the ideal scenario for emergency exit, but there's one that leads into the parking lot and out to Charles Coleman. And then we're going to add another one next to, or a little further down from that one.
Okay.
And we'll-
Are you gonna have a security assistant outside, Rob?
That is something that I have been looking into. I want to put more cameras up for one, but yeah, some way to stop people from coming in from the patio side. It's not been a huge issue for us, but I noticed it is possible, and so I'm not sure the best way to address it, but I do, for our sake, I want to look at it, you know, outside of the, I'm not sure what route that is, but, because you can't, you know, you can't be, obviously can't lock emergency exits or anything like that. So I've been trying to find something, maybe some sort of alert to let me know when doors open or something, because we really do prefer that to be just an emergency exit, but not always possible to control every single person that walks through, but.
Yeah, so it's operational stuff. So the code enforcement officer, I know he's not really part of the site plan approval, but some of the issues really is, you know, operation. And then does the fire chief of them take a look at this? Or?
So there's not a Village of Pauling fire chief, right? There's the town, the town has the fire chief, and then I guess maybe our building inspector acts as
That's our
the fire
understanding. Yeah,
official. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right here.
right.
It's your village person right here. It's Chris.
Yeah, I was
Chris,
just
yeah.
getting into the nomenclature a little.
Okay.
At any rate, and we can invite him, he reviews it on his own, but I think if you can invite his input.
Again, it was really just,
Yeah.
and I've, you know, there's 2 doors, so I don't know if there should be a 3rd one, but.
These were
how you-
actually
How you
his,
secure them, I mean, that's.
yeah,
something-
these were his requests originally, so we added these for him, and then we also changed the hardware that secured them to more his liking. It lessened the security of it, I guess I'll say, but he was happy with it, and it was working for us, so a happy medium.
The board can refer the application for review by the fire inspectors, code enforcement officer. If you'd like at least get his approval in writing and see.
Right here. Tuesday and Thursday.
How, yeah,
Just for
Again,
the record.
how wide is the back door? I mean, to the, I only bring that up because if there was, you know, something happened, an ambulance came, they parked in
Sure.
Joe's parking lot, they can open, get in, is it big enough for somebody to get?
It is, yeah, we made it so that it can open all the way to the, like, 180 degrees, and then it's as wide as the fire code required, according to Chris. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to just say something. I think it's at least 3 feet wide.
Okay, it's 3-foot man way, okay.
We're talking about the door in the fence enclosure?
I'm talking about the fencing, yeah.
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 I'm not talking about the building
Okay,
itself,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
I'm sure there's fine, that's per code. Because now hopefully for them, there'll be more people there, so if something might happen, someone might need assistance. That's
Agreed, yeah.
God forbid.
Okay, so we'll get a public hearing or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to close the loop on traffic, not traffic, parking.
Now, could they submit something showing the parking within a certain radius that's available, or you're asking for more formal?
I mean, I don't know that it has to be, it just has to be enough information that we can make an assessment to say, oh yeah, okay, there seems to be enough parking supply. So you're opening at the end of this month, yeah?
That would be
Outside?
the hope. That would be,
Well,
yes, well,
the
the
800
existing.
square feet,
Yes,
right?
correct. Weather permitting.
Right, okay,
You
so,
ain't opening tonight, that's for sure.
No.
yeah. You know, our next meeting is May 15th.
I'm going to say the 12th.
I think if you're able to be open outdoor, it would be nice to get a parking count every hour. And I could send you some specific directions if the
Okay.
board decides this is the way they want to go, but we can figure out when the peak parking demand is. We can, you know, you've already told us basically the extent of the parking area, which is generally Charles Coleman and the Capolino parking lot, right?
Well, aside from the spots on actual Broad Street. I mean,
Okay,
that's
and
the
Broad.
majority of our parking.
So you could tell me where you think people park generally,
Yeah,
right?
for sure,
And then we
Broad
could
Street,
we could do an hour by hour check, you know, and see how many of those spaces are, you know, taken. look at the peak times, and then, from that, we can kind of get an idea of whether there's available space for additional patrons.
Yeah, I mean, if that's a route we would like to go, we can do that, for sure.
That's up to the planning board to decide. But, I mean, certainly they could do it themselves. They don't have to hire somebody to do it. Their bar back could go out, once an hour.
There is also additional parking right in front of Downey's building. A lot of people park there, like when they drive trucks in. They don't typically fit on Broad it's 2 trucks, so they just park in front of Downey's house.
Yeah, that's the Charles.
I mean, the alternative is if the board is concerned about it or wants to make sure that it's taken care of, is talking with somebody like the Tomasettis, at Hudson Valley Plastics, and seeing if they'd be willing to allow you to park there, but that it would have to be a certain amount of spaces, and it would
Sure.
need to be, even if there would be some sort of binding agreement that would be necessary to be on file with the village to know that it was properly accounted for.
Yeah, I'll just say that, so we've been doing this for about 4 years now. We don't really have people complain about parking. I understand adding, the seats changes everything, but we're in definitely a less busy part of the village. Some people still don't even know that we're there, believe it or not. So parking really hasn't been a huge issue for us. It's not something like, being at the front of Charles Coleman, limited spots. We have a fair amount. But yeah, whatever we need to do.
I mean, I'm not trying to make it difficult.
Oh,
for you.
absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
it's more just like, if this was a new facility going in, what would they be held to?
Yeah,
And,
understood.
We obviously want you to be,
Yeah, I mean, our hope is just to provide more for people to do in the village, keep them coming into town.
yeah. So it's up to you all, what you want to do, and I guess if you want to think on it, that's fine. I don't want to delay their approval process, so it's better that we make a decision as to which direction you want to go at this point, so that they're not left in the loop and then.
I'm gonna just stand by what I said originally. I don't think parking's gonna be an issue. So I don't, that's my take.
I would say.
I have
if
to
you-
agree with Lou, I think
I don't
there's plenty of parking.
I don't think parking's gonna be an issue, but I think what you're saying is right. So if you could give them some information, so they could provide us some information to support our opinions, just so it's done. They could provide that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence because I know there is a lot of parking and people can walk. My other concern would be, it's not busy now over there. Let's say some other businesses open up,
Sure.
Sunflower Bakery, all of a sudden explodes, stays open a little bit later. Now you guys are competing for parking and just to make sure that.
We'll have it out with
within a
them.
certain radius, there's a decent amount of parking for you and to supply.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
businesses are there. If something else
Sure.
does open up at night, I know you're not really competing because there's not a lot open at night over there. But
Yep.
there could be.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess if you could give them a little bit of guidance on just something.
Yeah.
Right, to provide.
So I don't know, you're 2 and 2. I don't know what you guys tell me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Marie will switch it, but,
I know.
yeah.
Do you have some thoughts on it?
I mean, it's of course the board's decision, but my advice would be, it's always helpful to have more in the record that you've looked at and reviewed, when you're giving an approval than less. So even if there's a simple, count of spaces and usage at peak hours, at least you've looked at something on paper.
So where exactly would Rob count? Broad Street?
Well, we
Charles Coleman
have to kind of
Boulevard?
determine that. Yeah, I mean, he has to let me know where he thinks people park generally, and then we give it a little bit of space around that to give him the buffer, because
Yeah.
obviously if he's filling all those
Not the
spots,
end of the world.
then there's a problem, right? Like, we need to know there's available
They
spots.
use Broad Street, they use the library, they use part of Downing, in front of Downing when he's closed. They come around Charles Coleman. You gotta worry about the Chinese restaurant, which only takes 1 or 2 cars, and then they're gone. They stop, pick up their dinner, and they go.
Correct.
All right, I have an
And the jujitsu
alternative.
place over there.
I've got an
And I don't see
alternative
them
idea.
coming in with cars.
So, the alternative is, if you go to Dutchess County Parcel Access, you could zoom out and you'll get an aerial map you could draw on there where people park generally. Then take a look at the businesses adjoining those parking spaces and tell me what hours they're open. So Capolino's is only open, 8 to 5 or 4, right? So then if your peak parking period is 5 to 8:30 or 9, it's fair to conclude, and you've provided us the information and it's on file, that there's available parking. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think
It's basically like a shared
I like
parking
that idea.
analysis.
I like that idea.
it's just something simple.
It's work for them, but
Great,
it's
thank
desktop
you.
work. They don't have to get one of their barbacks to do counts. But I think it is the way to go, personally. Because you would require that another applicant backed up their, the reasoning for not providing parking. I mean, in the B1 district, we decide what the parking requirement is, but we need to know that, adding 70 additional seats is not gonna create a parking issue. And we need to have it on file, right? I mean, otherwise we're just taking somebody's word for it. And that's not, I could do it for him, but it's less expensive for him if he does it.
Yeah, we don't want you doing it.
Exactly. So,
Okay, Rob, give us a count.
Give us a count?
I'll write it down in an email for you.
And send it to
Oh,
me.
great,
and
okay.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
give you
okay.
instructions.
Great,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be helpful.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna take you
Yeah,
more than
well, I can say all the
hour.
businesses around us close at 5, so I'll just
Yeah.
get the layout
Yeah.
and we can take care of that.
Okay. All right. Okay, so, we need you said you were gonna provide a short environmental assessment?
Yes, I have that.
Okay, so when they submit that on the 29th, then at that point, we can, declare lead agency and go for all that stuff. I don't think there's any harm in considering scheduling a public hearing for the next meeting, even though we don't have the short form on file yet, but I don't know, you tell me.
I mean, it's up to the board, if you feel like you have enough information at this point that you're comfortable setting them down for a public hearing. I don't have an objection to it.
Just say that.
For the May meeting?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, we could always leave it open if we felt like
Yeah.
we did, at that point we did,
Hold
but
it
at
over
least
to
get
the
it.
next month if you don't get the information you request
Sure.
this evening.
And how about the notification to the neighbors?
Yes, when you consent to notify your neighbors of the scheduled public hearing.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that you can hear from all
how-
parties.
How far does that radius expand?
200 feet.
You'll
Yes.
provide them
Okay.
directions.
And I'll
Yeah.
provide labels for you.
Yeah, it's a mailing. You don't have to go knock on.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'll do it if I have to.
Okay, so the public hearing schedule.
Yes. Yes. Motion to set.
Can I get a motion for?
At a public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion for public hearing.
May, what date is it? May-
May meeting.
You have to pick a date.
13th or 15th?
I think you have to say the date now, so we'll have to just stick with the 15th.
Okay, then
Yeah.
we're sticking with 15th. My apologies on that.
No, it's not. I don't think it's your fault.
I just knew when I made that schedule, I think.
It's all right.
Okay, May 15th?
May 15th.
I second,
At
I second it.
At 6:30.
In favor?
6:30.
Aye.
Aye.
Good to go?
Yeah, just a quick comments. I think when you did come in for the sketch conference, I think one of the biggest concerns would have been, would be the noise.
Yep.
Even on the weekends, and whether or not it was not having certain activities out there past a certain time, and yes, definitely making sure the decibel levels of music for sure.
Yep.
But, yeah, if you started bringing like Jenga and cornhole out there, like
Oh, yeah. No,
competitive games can get
absolutely.
pretty rowdy, like at a certain time,
Yeah.
so, yeah, we'll definitely have to just go over
Sure.
the time, I think, that just the activity out there that can create noise, which.
That's easy enough to police,
Yeah.
can remove it, so. All
Right. Other than that, thank you.
right, thank you.
Thank you. See you next month.
Very good. Thank you very much.
I've been texting her.
I haven't.
All right.
Do we have any other business, escrows or,
Escrows are
okay?
okay for the most part. I am waiting on something from a previous month, so. I sent another notification yesterday, so hopefully that's respond, and that'll be followed.
All right. Anybody else?
And nothing.
Nothing? No?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.